And welcome, foolish mortals, to a special episode of the Comic Corner. My name is Damon. We got our two friends with us today, our two co-hosts as well, starting with AF. Buddy, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm super jelly that you guys got to go through that episode last week. Full out DC, all in absolute power. Just I was super sad, but you guys knocked it out of the park, and we got a great one today, and I can't wait to get into it.
Our most viewed episode ever. Again, back to back, which is fantastic. So thank you everyone for watching and listening to our thoughts and letting us know your thoughts as well. Fat Thor, buddy, how you doing today? Good morning.
Oh, I am doing great, my friend. I am excited. I am pumped. We are talking again about a great book today, and I'm here with two of my best friends. So, I'm just on cloud nine today, man. I couldn't be happier.
We have a special episode today. We're talking about one book and one book only. If this is your first time watching the Comic Corner, yes, we do usually talk about more than just one book, but we only have one book this week because it's one book I want to talk about, and it's an anthology, so we have plenty of stories within the story within the book to talk about. This is Hello Darkness from Boom Studios. Bunch of different artists, bunch of different writers. We're just going to get right on into it. We start off with a mood setter. It's a mood setter because we have a story of children just killing parents. Nothing we haven't seen before in a lot of other media, but this one's still a very solid start. I loved the art here. AF, what'd you think of this first issue called Contagious? Story.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, it set the tone. It's felt a bit of a cliche to me, just because like we've seen so many things of kids killing parents, like Children of the Corn type vibes, comics before, TV shows before, movies before, but in the sense that it sets the tone for the book and what's to come. I loved it. The art, as you mentioned, amazing, and yeah, I'm interested to see what actually happens with these kids and why they are actually doing what they're doing.
Fat Thor, what did you think of this first story in this issue?
I gotta just echo what AF said. I really enjoyed this, and with both what you guys said, I really do think it is kind of the tone setter of the book. Kind of opens you up to what you're about to experience with the other stories. And I really like this with it. It's hard to say because there's a lot of really good ones in here, but this one might be my favorite of the shorts in this. I really liked the premise. I thought it was late. It was one of those. I think, like I said, all of these do this, but this one really left me with like really wanting more. You know, like, oh, what is up with these kids? What is this? You know, virus or like those kind of questions really got my brain working. So yeah, I really enjoyed this first one.
I do agree. I really enjoyed this issue as well. I thought the art was phenomenal. It reminded me a lot of the Werther art in Something is Killing the Children. It's got that vibe. It's got that feel. I really liked it. Yeah, you know, it's a good tone setter to start everything up. Solid first story. We move on to a very different story. One that AF and I were describing this as Angry Guy Goes Bowler Slasher. If you said this was your favorite story in this, why was that?
I don't know. I just felt like the entire story it just felt fun. It just felt like something that I would watch. It felt like something that I would read, and um, just this poor old guy. Just it seems like he's had so much disappointment in his life, and everybody around him probably just outgrew him, outaged him, and he's surrounded by all these young people, and he just sounds so angry. And he takes his frustrations out on everybody, but he goes absolutely ballistic, and there's so much blood, there's so much anger, there's so much evil. I love it. I don't think you can ask for anything more.
Guy was pressed, as the youth say. He was triggered beyond belief. Fat Thor, what did you think of our angry bowler man just going havoc in an alley?
I mean, you said it perfectly. Just dude, just going absolutely crazy in this bowling alley. And I really enjoyed this one as well. I think AF kind of hit it on the head. It This one to me was the one that really how do I say this? Like, kind of pushed the envelope for me in the sense of like it just kept going further and I thought it was going to stop at the first. I don't want to spoil too much, but the first kind of incident with the guy. But then it goes further, and then it goes further, and then further, and I'm just like, oh man! So I really liked that about it. It really felt like it didn't let up even until like the very last page, which I really like, especially, we're talking all of these are short stories. So it has to
Yeah.
grab you very quickly. And I think this one definitely grabbed me very quickly. And again, it did not let go until I finished that page. So yeah, I really like this one as well.
That one was written by Dave Cook, art from David Cousins, colors Angel de Santiago, letters Nathan Kempf. Again, I really liked it. I thought it was fun. We don't have a whole lot of slasher stories in this first issue, so this was like almost the slasher story, and it hit all the nails on the head for me. It was just fun. You got to see kind of like what triggered this guy by the end of it, what set him off. Bro is salty. Let's just say that. Bro is very, very, very salty about stuff of his own doing. We have a very special story in here as well, but a very special story asterisk because it's so short. It's one of those something is killing the children stories where you could almost say nothing really happened. And that happens in something killing the children sometimes because sometimes we just set the tone. This is a story of Erica Slaughter going into a bar and finding out that there's kids being killed in a town. There you go. That's your story for the Something is Killing the Children arc. This will be continuing into the next issue, which is very nice. AF, I'm going to start with you very quickly on this because neither of you have ever read Something is Killing the Children. Did this short story intrigue you at all into picking up those books or to continuing this at all?
Yeah. So I've been intrigued about this title from all the times that I've heard you, Dave, about it, and finally just like reading a couple of panels on my own, has me curious about this character we call Erica Slaughter. So I mean, there was this one line when she's speaking to the bartender, and she asked him just about like how long he's been bartending, and he's like, yeah, that's how you know that you're going to be good at and how you can learn to be as good as you can. So yeah, that was a cool line. But yeah, I'm curious about this. I'm intrigued. I would like to really start getting into Something is Killing the Children. I've told you that before. My local comic book store are stocking them now, so I really should get a move on into picking some up.
Fat Thor, do you feel the same way or are you a little different on this?
Well, I gotta expose myself really quickly here because I was under the impression that all of these stories weren't continuing. Like this was just one and done. So like I feel like I judged it on that basis at first, and I was like, I don't know what the hell this is, what's going on. So it didn't really do much for me. But knowing now that it will continue, it definitely changed my thoughts on it. I definitely am intrigued of what this, monster hunter lady's doing. Of course, obviously, if you read Something is Killing Children, I'm sure that you're more aware of that. But I think what really like hooks me on this, James Tynion is a master at this, but just like building tension and like kind of building the theme and the tension of the story. And I think he does that very well, even though it is just two people sitting in a bar and like barely even have a conversation, but it works for me. And again, knowing that it continues, I'm excited to see where it goes. And it's carried, I think, by the art. The art in this short is fantastic. I mean, again, probably a Something Killing the Children classic at this point, but Weather Del Dara killed it.
Werther Dell'Edera.
Yeah, absolutely. The art in this is probably one of my favorites.
Werther's art has been with him since the beginning of Something's Killing the Children. It's one of the many reasons I love Something's Killing the Children is because of the consistency throughout all its books, all its titles. If they have to take a break just to make sure that everyone's still on it, the main writer, the main artist is still there, they will do so. So that's what I really enjoy about it. And yeah, like I said, sometimes we get an issue of something's killing the children where not much happens. And that's kind of what, like, again, it's a short, so really not a lot happens. You're not getting a lot of action in this issue. This is setting up, you know, again, kids are getting killed in town. Erica Slaughter's there. Did she know the kids were getting killed in town, or she just happened to stumble upon another town? She's like, ugh, here we go again. Which both scenarios happen. We'll find out with next issue on whether she knew or not, or what the twist here is, because sometimes there is a twist. A story I was really looking forward to is from Sarah Anderson, who is a short comic strip writer and artist. You may see her stuff a lot on social media. She's done some horror-esque, goth-esque type of stories before, between like a relationship of a werewolf of a vampire. I was really looking forward to this issue, which is called Siren. And sometimes when you get an anthology, you get stories that you just want more of. Because I want more of this, because it just ends. But that's kind of the beauty of this little story as well, is because sometimes a good horror story, you don't know how something truly ends. Your imagination fills up the remaining story, because maybe sometimes the mind is scarier than what will actually be on page. And this just tells a story of a lighthouse keeper who sees a siren. He's like, I'm not falling for this again. I'm not falling for this again. Well, there's a twist here, because this time, instead of him going to her in the ocean, she comes to him. I love this. I thought the art was great. I thought the little premise was cool. I just want more of it. AF, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, dude. I mean, like you summed it up pretty well. I was, while I was reading this, when I came to that last panel, I just kept on scrolling, and then it's like, what's happening?
What
Where
happens?
did it go? And like you said, like you want more, and yeah, like I mean, I got reeled in completely, and I'd love to see more of where the story actually goes. And that's, like you said, the beauty of it. It's the writer and the artist that completely pulls you in, that you need some more at the end of it all.
Fat Thor, what do you feel about this 3-page story?
See, I loved this. Like so in the top, I said the first one was one of my favorites. This one was my favorite for sure, and the reason for that is, to me, this one really felt like, again, I was under the assumption that all these stories were ending, but again, knowing that most of them are continuing, but this one to me was the one that really truly felt like a horror short story. Like, it was just a short story. Again, it kind of just gives you a premise, a twist, and he ends it off right there. And I love that. Again, I going to your point, Damon, that's one of my favorite things in horror is, like you said, leaving it up to the imagination. There's a quote from John Carpenter, legendary director, Halloween, all that. And he says in Halloween, like, that's why you don't see a lot of the kills, is because, again, the imagination is always scarier than what you can actually see. And I've always loved that thought of process when it comes to horror. And I think this just exemplifies that absolutely beautifully. And like I said, just it exemplifies the short story format, I think, absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, Sarah Anderson is a modern day master when it comes to short stories. Again, you may see her strips, and you may not even recognize, if you see like this art to the strips that she does. Sometimes are very stick figure-y, and they just tell little short stories, little panels of like everyday life of a cat, or wanting to go back in time and whatever, and all of a sudden there's a dinosaur out your window type of thing. Like crazy little fun giggly comic strips like that. But she does have this in her wheelhouse as well, so I was really looking forward to it. And again, like I mentioned, the beauty of anthologies is, if a story is liked so much, you can continue it even if it has theoretically ended, which is what I do enjoy and what I've wanted out of this series when it was announced. So hopefully we see more of this, because I love this. Even if it isn't a direct continuation of this story, I just want to see more Sarah Anderson, because I love this. It was just a great 3-page little setup, kind of conclusion, leave it up to you. I really liked it. And again, the art in here, perfect for the story that I was telling. The siren, creepy, perfect. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Oi.
Yo, this one was crazy.
The crazy is the right word.
Yeah.
Wild is another word. This is Steve Orlando's The Foster. This has body horror elements to it. This has possession elements to it. Makes you uncomfortable. And I think this one, until the next issue, next story we talk about, was the one where I was like, ugh. TJ, Fat Thor, I'll start with you because Steve Orlando's your guy. I want you to
Hell
talk
yeah.
about this.
Hell yeah, we love Steve. We've both been fortunate enough to interview him. Such a great guy. And we actually talked about this on our last interview for Comic Corner. So y'all go check that out, hear him talk about it a little bit. But like you said, this one was wild, my dudes. Like, I was not. But that's what I love about it. And again, going back to kind of the horror short kind of format, like, this one totally hooks you with kind of the absurdity of it, and like, just like, what the hell is going on here? And like you said, we have like kind of possession, almost kind of like a monkey's paw kind of thing, and it's great. Like you said, it's creepy, it's wild, but in the right ways, and it leaves you with the heebie-jeebies, right? Like, that's the best way I can describe it. It's a heebie-jeebie giver for sure.
AF, what'd you think about this issue? We talked about it a little bit off camera.
Yeah, no, exactly what TJ said. This, as I was reading every panel of the short, I just kept on thinking, man, Steve Orlando is wild. That brain is absolutely wild. And I mean, when it comes to this hand over here, like, we don't know who is truly in control. Like, who is in control of this body? And I mean, that's left unknown by the end of it. And I want more. I want to see more. It's a sadistic, weird tale, and yeah, give me more. Steve Orlando, I want to see more weird stuff. I want to read more weird stuff.
Please,
Thank
Steve,
you.
give us the weird stuff, Steve.
Also, shout out the art, A.L. Kaplan with the art, colors, Marcel Luis, letters, Jordy Troutman. Again, just to echo everything you both said, this was strange. This what made me uncomfortable, but like you said, in the EBGB type of way, because body horror sometimes either hits or doesn't hit for me. Like, sometimes it's just like, we've seen this stuff. There's something about just like the way this hand is drawn into this dude's stomach, and like the placement of it and the way it just like works. It's like, ugh.
Like, it's
and
not
then you
grotesque, but it's just like you said, something about it.
that doesn't belong there.
Yeah,
I
right.
think
That doesn't
that's
go there.
I think that's the point of it. It's not grotesque. It's just like, that's out of place. That shouldn't be there. And it's just, I'm trying to almost think of like how it would even work, like physiologically. I'm just like, But I thought the whole possession aspect was really cool. We don't know who was actually in control of it all. Steve Orlando did a very good job making a horror story. It made me uncomfortable. Mission accomplished. This is the last story in this, and this one is probably the heaviest because it hits you with life right out of the gate. Everything else is a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of the absurd, a little bit of like that demonic stuff. This is life. And this is written by Garth Ennis, who does tell war stories in his past. Man, out of all these stories, this one fucked me up the most. I think I texted Fat Thor this immediately after. I was like, fuck, man. That one screwed with me. And it starts as this conversation amongst friends talking about life, the Russian-Ukraine war, and how one of the, like, some of them are just brushing it off, like some of us do, and be like, things will get settled, and someone will be like, but what if it doesn't? And then there's someone who's always positive and says, well, we've seen situations like this before, and they're talking about if a war goes nuclear. And it's like, well, reasonable men come up with reasonable conclusions. You know, we've seen this before. Don't worry about it. There's some other side stuff in here between the relationship of the husband and a wife who are also pregnant. And then shit happens by the end of it, because the last three words, when the guy, after this conversation happens, after they have dinner and they're home, he wakes up in the middle of the night, looks at his phone like all of us do sometimes, and just says three of the most haunting words in this entire issue: London is gone. And sometimes we just had, you know, so we come up with situations all the time in our lives right now where shit happens and you just don't even know how to process it. You look at your phone and that's how you find world breaking information. Like, oh God, that, I mean, kudos to the story, because this one really did screw with me, but it's because of that real life horror.
Yeah.
And sometimes the scariest things in the world is things that can happen. Fat Thor, I want to start with you on this because I just rambled about this issue. What'd you think about this?
Dude, ramble away. That's what we're here for. But I enjoyed this one, but I will say for me, this one kind of went over my head a bit. And not over my head and like I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't really see the vision until at the end. And I will admit to, like, I'm not as familiar with Garth Ennis's work as you are, and you know, a lot of people out there. But this one to me felt like, out of all of them, like we talked about, I thought it was a one and done kind of thing. So I felt like this one, out of all of them, really, to at least for me, hinged on having like a second issue or like continuing the story. Because like I said, I get what's going on and like what we're getting at, but it didn't hit me as much as it hit you. And like I said, for me, I think I just need another issue to kind of bring all of this together. But like I said, as opposed to that, judging it just on itself, I really do love, like you said, the more, it's not horror in the sense of, you know, creepy monsters and, you know, blah. It's like you said, life horror, if you would. And not even horror really, just kind of bleak reality, if you would.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect to it for sure. And like I said, now knowing that we are getting more, it makes me more excited to really dive in and really kind of, also I'm excited too to just kind of go back and really dissect this conversation that these people are having, because it's very, you know, real world, very much, you know, seeing the kind of personalities, perspectives of everyone. And it's something that I think definitely begs to really digest and really, like I said, go over thoroughly.
AF, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, like you said, a lot of real world things happens in these conversations that this group of friends is having, and um, we are like the Russia Ukraine war happened, and there's still a lot of things happening between those two nations. Currently, there's Israel and Palestine as well. A lot of things happening over there, and the thing is, these wars have the potential to become so much bigger than they already are, and it has the potential to become global. And I mean, if that doesn't frighten people, then what will? I mean, these conversations that these group of friends are having, um, it's so real and it's so deep and it's so heavy, um, that whoever's reading this, the reader who is reading this, will be able to feel exactly what they are saying because of social media, because of the news, because of just being enlightened by everything that's happening around them. So yes, it's not like a slasher. It's not. There's not blood. There's no ghosts or demons or anything like that. But just the fact that real life can be so scary, should put a chill in anybody. And like you said before, Garth Ennis, he deals with the political stuff. You mentioned off camera between in our conversation that he was responsible for the boys, and we've seen how political the boys can be as well. So yeah, I'm so keen to see what happens further in the story, because there's that subplot of the husband and the wife, and she's pregnant and she's having dilemmas and fighting things on the inside with herself as well. So I'm keen to see what else happens in the story.
Shout out Becky Cloonan with the arts, colors, Tamara Bonvillain, letters, Pat Brousseau. You hit the nail on the head right there with everything, because sometimes the scariest things in life are not the ghouls, are not the monsters, but in reality, maybe just the things outside our window, which is almost a little bit of a twist of the marvelization of it all with the world outside our window. Sometimes it's not happy. Sometimes reality is pretty freaking scary. It can be. It can be. Hopefully it's not, but sometimes it is. Man, so we covered essentially every short story in this issue. I thought we did a pretty solid job of that, to be completely honest. We will have our usual show next week covering all the comics from this week that we would be talking about, and the comics from next week. Fat Thor and AF will be hosting that, as I will be flapping my little wings flying across the country. That'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay spooky, stay happy, and above all else, go support your local comic shop.